Announcing things. Like,
maybe you're tired.
Yeah, no, it's just so bad because I'll be like, I don't know. I'll say something like that.
Dude, right here, right here. Other head.
Oh shoot! I gotta do a cross check. Do I have any?
Maybe right there. No, you're fine. It's fine actually.
Serious?
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Do you see anything?
I was eating seaweed earlier. Wait, now it's in between your two front teeth.
Hey, no, look, really.
I think you're good.
Ellie?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, maybe a little bit right here actually.
This one?
Yeah. Oh.
That one?
Oh, are we live?
Oh, we're live.
Hey!
Yay!
You
So
guys have-
exciting. Okay.
We got some good teeth in this crowd. Oh,
yeah. Teeth.
Big smiles.
Okay. Hey,
Welcome.
everyone. Welcome back to another 180 Shift podcast. My name is Elizabeth.
And I am Tara.
Oh, I said Elizabeth.
Oh.
Oh, I went with my full name right now. Oh, it's Ellie actually, guys. Oh, my bad. But yeah, welcome everyone. If you guys haven't checked us out already, go to all of our social media at 180 Shift. That's Instagram, X, Twitter. No, I just said that, right? X and Twitter, same thing. Facebook, and then I think that's pretty much it. But you can also go to our website at 180shift.org as well. So
Yep,
you can get everything.
Find everything there. And today we have a great show. We will be talking about kind of the aftermath of the Eaton and the Palisades fires. And we will be discussing that with Jason, who's our guest.
Yes.
All right, we can cut to the intro now. Okay, you see how you're not quite center.
Where do you want me? Okay, fair enough.
Hi.
So that was some technical glitches.
That was terrifying slightly. If anybody was watching that was, if you're actually like looking at the video, that was terrifying. It's okay.
It's okay.
Oh, they're watching.
They're watching. They saw it all. They saw the technical problem.
Yeah.
Can't get away with
It's
anything.
okay. It's okay. But yeah, everyone, how's it going? How's life?
Life is good, especially now that I have boba in my hands.
That's true.
All right.
Yes.
It's time, Jason.
This is it?
This is
the moment?
This is the moment of boba.
Okay. Tell me how it's done.
All right, so
I'm looking forward to this.
little physics trick.
Okay.
Bam.
Oh, I did it.
That's the easy way.
I like the two-handed right in the middle. Does it
Yeah,
matter?
but you have to
You can
lift
do
it
it in the
up
middle.
in order for it to do the thing.
Lift
it up,
Uh-huh.
and then you like go like that.
Like
All right, you
Am,
know.
am, am, am,
You
am I
gotta
having
put
a
your
problem?
fingers like this.
Oh.
It's okay. I'm doing a whole physics
Like
boba.
this.
And then you like slam it. Don't spill it on your computer.
Yay!
Oh,
Okay,
it took
yes.
a little work to
It
get
took a little
that
finessing.
prep work going, but now I think I'm
Yes.
good. Well, cheers.
Yes.
Yes,
Cheers.
cheers.
Yes.
Oh, we haven't done a cheers
boba.
before. Wait.
Yeah, we haven't done that. We don't do that, right?
Oh,
That'd be
yeah.
so cute.
Leave it
Anyway.
to the new guest.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
So how's the week been?
Well, we're just I believe all the fires are out. I was just in Malibu, and they told me that with the rain and everything,
Yeah,
that
it's
we're
all
in the
been
clear. Yep. So
good.
that's fantastic news for our city. And
Well, we've had a second rain. That was very
Yes.
helpful.
Yes.
I believe in that regard.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. We were definitely praying for rain, so God absolutely came through with that. But yeah, how are you doing, Ellie?
Slightly stressed. I've got a lot of stuff on my plate this week. Just started spring semester of college, so that's been interesting. I have a journalism class that I'm taking, so that's fun. Except I was waitlisted, so I just barely got added, and now I'm starting
Yes.
it, like 2 days late.
They
so
got you in.
It's okay. It's okay as long as I got in.
They love you.
But so I did that, and I've also started a statistics class today, which is terrifying.
Terrifying.
Yeah. No, I was so scared. I was like, but I'm doing it with one of my best friends, so it's totally cool. We don't love math, so we're just gonna be there for moral support, not to actually help each other. So.
Oh.
Yeah, because we don't do math very well. So hey, at least we're there, and when we're gonna be crying over exams.
Well, you're in it together.
Exactly. And then I have an event tonight as well for not tonight, this weekend, for a banquet that I'm hosting. So that's an entirely different thing. But it's just a lot.
You said it was statistics?
Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
So
statistics.
that's going to be pretty difficult to make woke, right?
Oh.
Right?
Well, let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Because your English class was pretty woke from what you were talking about.
Oh, and my speech class as well had a few things. Well, he didn't say he had a specific bias towards anything, but you could definitely tell the way he was speaking, there was something behind there. Not that he was like totally pushing it out there, but he was saying, oh, well, some people believe that blah, 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 blah.
That is the thing that I keep hearing about, is that there is so much like aggression towards people who are clearly based or just like not woke.
Based.
You know, it's true. You're either based or you're woke nowadays. No, seriously. But no, like I've had professors give me like the cold shoulder over assignments and just over me generally being there because they figured out that I was based.
So,
And
what are the key indicators do you think they're looking for in the classroom?
When the professor starts playing drag shows, if you look away, you're based.
Ooh. Oh. Dang.
They've done that?
That is a test.
totally
That's
did
just
that.
not even fair. You know, what
It is
kind
not
of,
fair.
Yeah. I mean, you could just be averse to men in dresses. I mean,
Oh, no. They don't like that.
that's
They don't. They
that's
want
just
you to
okay.
love it.
Oh, good thing, though, is I did get a haircut.
Just
That's a
oppressive.
plus, though.
Okay.
Yes, that's very
Life's
good.
good when you get a haircut, so.
Yeah, my daughter cut my 3-year-old son's hair.
You know what? That happens. That always happens. I did that when I was younger to my sister, and I gave her the most amazing bangs ever. I promise you.
No, it didn't work out on my end. This was no, we had to shave his head.
No.
Well, I gave him a buzz cut. It looks
okay.
nice. Anyway, moving on.
So that was mom's recovery.
Mom's recovery,
We'll just
yeah.
buzz it up, Anthony.
Just buzz it
Yeah.
up. Exactly.
I hope you liked it for the 10 minutes you had those bangs your sister gave you.
Exactly.
It was
I
so
love
bad.
that.
It was so bad.
Yeah.
Well, you know, so one thing, Jason, you are actually pretty local to the Eden Fires. Can you kind of explain your experience?
Yes. Oh, I was going to even bring up a trusty map because I wanted to show just how close the house is to the fire line. So if we do have a map of the Eaton Fire, you will see that it extends all the way from Sierra Madre. It's along the base of the San Gabriel Mountains, Pasadena, which is Sierra Madre. Of course, Pasadena just for a stretch after Sierra Madre, and then mostly all of the border along the north is Altadena. So if you look at the way the fire stopped on what you would call the western edge is pretty much along Lincoln Avenue. So where I reside is about 8 or 10 houses in from Lincoln on near Lincoln and Figueroa. So you basically were able to look down the street, and after I realized what happened, getting ahead of myself, that how close things really were.
Because it was in the middle of the night when this started happening.
Yes.
Could you talk to us about the hours or maybe even minutes of like when you saw the progression happen?
Yes, I have thought about it many times because you really had no idea what was unfolding before you, right? So we all experienced the Santa Ana winds, which got kind of crazy and more wicked Monday into Tuesday being the 7th. And I started to rip my roof off, and I thought, wow, I'll take a picture of this. This is really crazy what's going on here.
With the wind.
With just the wind alone was
Yep.
kind of creepy. I have to mention the power got knocked out, and then you started to see trees falling, and just kind of more and more crazy just with the wind. Just the amount of things that were blowing across the streets, and just you wouldn't even want to be out there if you were hit by things were just flying around. Basically, shingles were flying off, tar paper, garbage cans. Things were just kind of every which where. For me, the first indication of the fire actually was we had lost power about 5 p.m. So it was a weird mood. You know, everybody knew that these winds were insane, and then the fire, and it was just dark, pitch black. There was no power anywhere, and stuff all on the streets. I noticed a glow. So what happened is I went outside. My neighbor had a tree that had snapped. A big old limb had snapped. And I was like, oh, my gosh. And as I was looking past the house, I noticed that the orange glow over what I thought was about 2 blocks away. I was like, oh, there's a house on fire. Wow. That was at 6:24. And then what I did was I walked about a block or two thinking I would get to it because I just thought it was right over there. The weird thing is the depth perception of like that orange glow. Later, I found out it was much farther than I thought, but it seemed like it was close. So I walked a few blocks, and I was like, man, I don't know where that fire, but there's definitely a fire somewhere, but I just couldn't see exactly. So I went up to my rooftop, and I have a 3rd-floor rooftop I'm able to view from, so I had a high vantage point, which would later in the evening, we'll get to kind of that was where I watched things happen. But at that moment, I went up and I saw the fire in the distance. what happened was it was in the mountains. So I could tell it was pretty much farther than I had thought when I got up to the roof. But it was getting more aggressive. And so what happened was I had this inclination to chase like the storm chaser.
Right.
So I was like, well, where is this fire? Because that was my goal originally. Was like walk to it. I'm like, no, I'm going to drive to it. Let's see where this thing is. And so that was at 8:30. I set out with my housemate to see where this fire really was. And so that's when you'll see, we could watch the video or parts of this video if you want to bring that up.
That's close.
There you go.
Okay.
So not this one, though.
That's close.
Okay, so I'm going to film it.
This is at 8:30.
That's close.
We're now driving to
That's Altadena, Pasadena fire right there.
Let's just see how far we
as close as we could, and you can start to see it's much larger. It's the whole mountainside's basically on fire.
We'll see if they're.
We're trying to get a
blocking
perspective on how far away this is, so we can kind of put some of
It's
this.
still a ways away. It's still up there. Look at that. That's a tall mountain, man. Look how high that is.
I'm not
that
looking
it's
up there. I'm
more
looking
further
down here by the houses where the fire is.
And I'm concerned. I'm like, he's saying it's up there. I'm like, no, I think it's all the way down at this point where the houses are. So we're trying to get to just how
You don't know how far down that goes.
close
I
we
think
can
that's the park.
get. So we get fast.
That's the park over there. I don't think it's going in homes.
Wow. And to be there and experiencing this in real life is,
Brush fire. Look
I
at
mean,
that.
the video
Way up the
doesn't do
mountain
the
there.
experience justice for how intense that probably felt,
That's crazy.
Way up there.
especially
Look at
not
that.
knowing.
Right, you could tell the anxiety of folks as they start to just drive out. We ran up and saw people running out of their homes.
Okay,
you see
who's
that?
that?
There
See
was
that?
that was like some sort of transformer. I was thinking just burst.
You don't know how far
Transformers
this goes to the houses.
bursting.
Look.
Right.
And
It comes all the way down here.
Yep.
To our level.
And you can start to see just this
Look
glow
what's right in
just
front of us.
lighting up the entire. This is Altadena Drive, by the way. So we're heading east on
wanna
Altadena
get up there
Drive.
and get a
We've
shot,
already
get
crossed
back out
Lake
of here.
Avenue,
Actually,
and you can see the stuff. Just the streets are filled with all kinds of.
From
Trees and stuff.
just from
yeah.
the wind. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
No, the
So they're-
winds
they're-
were crazy.
Now this street here, you
Altadena
may not
Drive.
know this, but was that street later burned?
Parts of this are totally gone. Yes. Yeah, you can keep going because we get to the point of this video. We actually get to as close as you can drive
Wow.
to the fire.
Is that
Yes.
California?
If you keep going, this is
Fire, flood, and drought.
Wow, you guys
six-
were
yeah, you can see
close.
it
Yeah,
all the
you
way
can
up.
see the details of the
No,
smoke.
looks like it's
just
just
the-
a mountain so far. I mean, there may,
Yeah.
there may be houses, but usually this is the.
So what did it feel like
homes
driving
that
into
get
that? Did you
there.
feel like, okay, maybe I should turn around. Maybe this situation is uncontrollable. Like, what kept you going?
It was very exciting on one hand because you just didn't know how intense or high or huge these flames were. But on the other hand, we were concerned about getting trapped in there because if there's all of a sudden roadblocks or cars all trying to get out at the same time, who knows? It was very tense. It was very, very tense. As you can see by the amount of there's already a lot of emergency activity. So this is at 8:30. Just remember, and I don't think it's actually reached any homes. At the end of this video, we'll get to where we do turn around is as close as you can get to the flames. And there is a clip which is interesting. I was happy to present this to everybody because we caught the transformer, which is the high electric tower that they say is the origin of this entire thing, which
Really?
will indicate all the litigation that's about to happen. The billions of dollars is like what is the cause of the fire?
Right.
So you'll see it in the video. It's the transformer. There's flames around it, but it's still interesting that I noticed it too as I was driving by. I'm like, oh my gosh. There's fire right around that transformer. Like, that cannot be good. I didn't know really anything at the time that it was part of, perhaps, the starting of it, but...
Can you unpack two more what exactly is happening? Because those are city transformers. So is it the city that's in this lawsuit? What's happening?
It's the high wire. So it's not these. These are more of a localized electric transmission. It's the high tension wires way up in the mountains.
Right.
So I'm calling it a transformer. They call it a high electrical tower.
Yeah.
They could say, there's probably other terms.
Yeah, sometimes they're disguised as palm trees,
Wow,
right?
There it
that's
is,
crazy.
there's up there.
Is it that what's
Oh my goodness.
That's what they're saying. They have video of arcing.
Wow.
Right there.
Okay.
Yep. So you got to catch it.
So they have video of that arcing, and that
Yep,
just
there's one again.
shows.
Yep. That's my head.
In the canyon.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like.
So
any
whoever made that
residents.
might be whoever
Doesn't look like
hired.
any
No,
residents.
That to be-
Edison. I think California Edison
Yeah.
Yeah.
would be on the hook if it's there.
So I would-
Because
I'd
one of the things that was
take it out of here.
debated actually was whether there should have been a to shut the power down completely, because in previous Santa Ana occurrences that had been mandated ahead of time.
Right.
Yes.
So in other words, if there was no power, we would have avoided this entire thing. So there's many questions.
Yes.
Like why wasn't, because these winds were really unprecedented
Yeah.
for at least a decade. We hadn't had anything
You know
like
what?
this.
That's so interesting. What are you? I mean, that's one. I guess. I mean, I don't know if we're jumping ahead of ourselves. If you wanted to go through the timeline further,
Yes.
Because I also have questions to ask later about what your speculations are to what happened. But
Yeah.
let's continue down the timeline.
Absolutely. Right. So the fire got to a point where there was just too much smoke, and we're like, we got to get out of here. So that's about 9:30. I think we got back to the house, and then from then on, it was like, well, is this going to reach any houses? And so we, I think, periodically throughout the night, we were told to watch the app called Watch Duty, and we saw there was some evacuation going on, some mandatory at that point, even though we didn't know if it had hit any of the houses. Some mandatory evac, but it was still on the way other side of town, which is several miles from where I'm at. So we were watching that, and then I would go up to the roof periodically, and I could see the fire. And I did see it move. This was from 6:30 all the way until past midnight. I watched it go across from where it started at Eaton Canyon, which is exactly where that car we were driving to Eaton Canyon. Then it went all the way across all the way towards JPL, really. And that whole time, it always seemed to be far enough where there was no houses involved, because I know where the mountains are. The house is foreground, mountains background. Like, okay, it's back there. And it just got to a point where I was just exhausted from watching. I think by about 1 a.m, and everybody was just like, okay. And I think around 11, I decided, let's figure out where I'm going to go. And housemates as well, like, let's all have a place to go, because we could get that notice at any point, like to evac and mandatory evac. So yeah, I had my bags packed and made some calls, had a place to go. And at that point, I'm just exhausted. So it was still far enough away. About 1:30 in the morning, sleep. I'm like, I'll get up about 5. Let's sleep for at least maybe a few hours, about 3. Well, yeah, but 3-4 hours, whatever, right? So I think so. I went to sleep really quick, and then there's others that, like housemates. They went to sleep. Like, okay, let's figure out who's going to get up and when. And we figured, okay, give it a few hours. So I slept like a baby. I am a very sound sleeper, and I had just really been exhausted. But I was woken up, I think about 2.5 hours. See, if it's 1:30, I was woken up about, I think I wrote it down here, about 4. Yeah. So that's only 2.5 hours. So, 4 o'clock when the housemates comes in, and she's like, let's go. It is a mandatory evac. And I was like, oh my God, because it was always so far away. I'm like, well, I guess let's go. That's why I had my stuff ready. And it's funny, I had another house guest who was in the basement, and this guy didn't even have a clue either. And about the severity of the situation. So he actually came with me, which later, on a side note, was really helpful to have somebody to do all this insanity with, kind of a partner in crime, for this.
Right.
Because we're just in the middle of the night. Like I said, my housemate was great, but she's like, I ain't waiting for you. She's like, you're on your own, and I'm out. And then the other two guys, I know, the house was like a ghost. It was like a ghost town. Everybody was just gone, vanished in the middle of the night. And it was like 5 a.m. So I'm like, how did these people, they just left and didn't even tell us. Well, I guess one of them did knock on her door and then just left. And then she was, at least she had the wherewithal, Hannah. Mm-hmm. She had the wherewithal, like, to slow down and just make sure that I was, that I knew what was going on. And I grabbed Joseph, the guy downstairs, who also, like I said, was just sound asleep. And we just got out of there. It was, I wasn't looking too hard at the fire at that point. It was more like, okay, I've had enough of all this. Let's just go to Glendale and just kind of wait it out until the morning. So that's what happened.
Wow.
That was the first night.
Yeah, that was the first night. That's crazy.
Yeah. Where'd you go in Glendale? Just a restaurant or just...
Oh, no, I had a friend, which was awesome. His name's Anthony. He was able to
nice.
host. So, yeah, I was just really thankful that if they say have your go bag, and I would recommend everybody do indeed have a go bag, and I had, you'd have your valuables, cash, the most valuable things, jewelry, whatever, metal.
Personal documents.
Yes.
That's what I packed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, we went to, when we got the order, we went to Bob's Big Boy. And it was like in Burbank, there was no commotion. And I wasn't even in Altadena, so I wasn't even near the commotion, but we all saw that daunting...
The glow?
No,
the orange?
No, we weren't close enough to see the glow. We were 5 miles away. And
Okay.
so we just saw this like daunting smoke.
The smoke.
So yeah, it was scary. It was a scary time for Los Angeles, but I can't even imagine what it was like to be literally right at the foot of the mountain and
Yes.
dealing with that chaos and
Yes. Yes, and I can continue with, if you would like,
absolutely
with
yes.
the next morning.
Yeah, how was the next morning?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Well, it was also a very short sleep, as you might imagine. Although I was much more relaxed at that point. So I just think I slept till like 10 to like 5 in the morning. I mean, it was we did not really sleep until like 5:30 or something in the morning. Felt like the sun was practically coming up. But at that point, I was happy to sleep and did. Got up at about 10:30, and at that I was just totally unaware of what I was about to find out. And so I had, okay, who do I contact? So I think I first contacted Charlie, who lives next door. I think he had some things to say, but he hadn't been back, right? So then I think the second person, which is wild, because I don't call her up all the time. Her name is Michelle Martinez.
Oh, yes.
You might have heard of her. She ran for Assembly District in California. She's also a neighbor of 8045 or 6, I believe. She's also a neighbor of mine who lives a block away. And when I spoke with her, I actually have some clips and pictures that she had taken because she stayed the night. And she did not leave. And what she told me, was my jaw dropped. She said, Jason, the houses are burning a block away from us. We are at our house. We are spraying it down. There are embers flying. We don't know if we're going to keep our house, but we're praying. And I was stunned that any houses had burned anywhere at all. And she says, yes, they're burning, on Lincoln Avenue, the other side of Lincoln Avenue. So I was, okay, tactical mode. I've got to get back to my house. I mean, I don't know if it's going to burn. I have more things. If I can save them, I'm going to save them, right? So who do I partner with and how do I get in? So this was where it got exciting because I was like, I know they blocked the roads. Okay, what do I do? I'm going to try to get in there. I'm not just going to walk in there and try to drive in there and then load up my car. And that's where you'll see, this is all after, but what you'll see, the video of me praying over the house was after I had grabbed that second. I, praise God, got the car in there. Amazing. I knew a back road went up a down ramp and came all the way around back by JPL. I was able to get to my house with my car. It was super cool because I knew I had photo albums. I made a list, okay, I got to get photo albums. There's just a few things I knew, journals, stuff that I knew I wanted to grab. And then I asked each person in my house, is there something I can grab for you, something I can grab for you? So they each had, my car was full. Each person had something for me to grab. And then I'm like the citizen journalist here. I had to see this. I wanted to see what was really happening. So this is all, but I had made sure I got everything packed in my car first and that there was no flames over by our house. So I left my car. It was packed, ready to go. And then poor Joseph's tagging along, but he's helping me out. The guy I went through all this with. And we go and to see what had happened. And it was now dark. And this is the first video. If you watch a video of actually, the video of me praying. This is the first one. Yeah.
Real.
Before this, yes.
Okay, this is a.
We'll give you. There you go.
Life crisis here. I'm at my house at 510 Roy Street in Altadena, and we have fires tearing up houses all in our neighborhood. We have this tree right here has fallen in a house next door to mine, snapped in half, and we're going to pray by the power of the blood of Jesus Christ.
So here we have a prayer video of mine declaring God's protection over our home, Psalm 91, Psalm 23 protection.
Put out by the miraculous strength of our Lord Jesus, who is and was and
did indeed save the house, so I will give the Lord credit for that.
In my name, believe you have received it, and it shall be yours. So I'm going to believe that I've received safety and covering of all of mine and my housemates' belongings and valuables, and especially real estate and anything living here. So we just thank you, Lord, and we're going to just take one last look at the devastation thus far and declare it finished. The winds are finished in Jesus' name. For all these ridiculous winds. Thank you, Lord.
There's another tree down there, right? And there's all that. The house is still burning back there. From here, it got dark very quickly thereafter. I think I just finished packing the car and then was able to go across the street to see for the first time what I could see of the decimation.
My eyes are seeing houses that reduced to nothing that were here just yesterday in my own neighborhood. This is a block from where I live. This is Jason Stebbings in Altadena, California. This is Lincoln Figueroa. And these are all that's left of so many homes just completely annihilated. There's firemen working right now.
this home here. It's a very eerie scene when you can like barely see, but you can see these silhouettes, and these are the firemen.
The silhouettes of the house
Yeah.
frames.
Yeah, you can see that.
And these are the firemen doing what they can do. As things had died down at this point. So by the next day, I was very relieved because the winds never did pick back up, which would have been the cause of a lot more destruction. Because as long as there's flames and embers to blow around, they're just going to keep scattering and catching. But at this point, they had stopped. So this is interesting. This is the night, that first night after the fire. So that's why you still have flames burning, and you also have all the gas was not shut off. So there was explosions around, kind of around.
Wow.
Yeah, as I was walking around and just taking what you can see here are some very ominous, dark pictures with flames still burning in a lot of them. But what's wild is this is just a block or two from where I live, and I just kept walking and kept seeing that this just didn't seem to end, within like a few blocks, and started to realize it's probably more than just a few houses.
Right. Did any of the firemen ask you to leave at a certain point, or they just...
No.
They just...
No. It was kind of a free-for-all.
Okay.
Everyone's just...
Outside the
yeah,
looting
there was.
was
I went under a lot of wires and things that probably shouldn't have. But I was like, well, hopefully the power's off, because there was all kinds of wires across the road, and I just made sure not to touch them. But I felt like as a journalist, you've got to go into the zone,
right?
And,
take some pictures.
Well, and as a journalist especially, and it got even more strict when the looting started, which is what was happening. People were coming into these areas and maybe not picking up stuff from these places, but going to the houses that were evacuated.
That's right.
And going and raiding them. But, you see how there's a little fire there in that photo, and everything else, like there doesn't seem to be any fire burning around it. Yeah, that is one thing that I've heard a lot of people talk about is, so then...
Open gas line. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I had a man from my church whose house also is still standing, and partially because he was standing outside putting out all the fires that would come close to his home.
Yes.
And I mean, it was a
You see all the spottiness.
Just,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have many words. I mean, we're just kind of witnessing it and just praying about it. And so any final points of that story before we... This is all the first night. The points are that the fire was dying down, huge relief. There wasn't a lot of wind at this point, and it was just the shock of the desolation because it was so swift. And that's what I still am trying to figure this out, because in the hours that I was went to Glendale was between 3 to 5 in the morning, and when I talked to my friend about 8 in the morning, she said the fire is now all the way down and decimating. And if you just look at the range that it had to go, I don't think it was on any houses that I could see when it definitely had gone to bed. So that's what's weird, is that all this destruction happened like just within a very few hours. And the end of about 2 in the morning, I think it started to descend into the houses. But by 10 a.m., I think everything was dying down. So you had thousands and thousands of houses just within a little bit of 6 hours, a little bit of a day.
What do you think caused that? For it to spread so quickly.
And then why did it go? Because that's what I watched it from 6:30 p.m. until 1 in the morning. I just watched it go across the back of those hills, and it wasn't in the houses. So how it came down in the dead middle of the night and did more damage than we've seen. If we look at the chart that I actually had in the beginning, it shows the number of structures that have been damaged in the history of California. And you'll notice the two that we had in January of 2025 were ranked at the very top, other than the Palisades or the Camp Fire.
Yeah.
In terms of overall structures annihilated, is over 9,000 structures, and that was as of a certain date of January 24th. So they were still counting, even at that point.
That's insane.
Wow.
No, I remember. I remember because we were going to come in for a podcast on Tuesday, and then Tara said, hey, probably not the best idea because the winds were just crazy. And to be honest, they were crazy. And I realized, yeah, never mind, and plus I have a lot to drive to get here. But I remember I watched a movie that night, but then I stayed up because I was just so attached to the news because I was like,
Okay.
this is crazy. Originally, I thought that the winds were gonna be just like, obviously we've seen like some of the trampolines fly out or something. I thought it was just gonna be like,
Right.
strong winds. We've had that before, whatever. But I did not imagine that this would happen, right? And I mean, the year just started. We were just like, New Year, and then just like, fires.
It is unbelievable. It is uncanny. It's shocking, especially when you're looking at these numbers. You go from the most destructive fires. I mean, it's just 1,000 structures all the way up to here, and it's just very rare that you ever encounter over 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to the thousands in one fire. So it is amazing, and it was just a few hours because at 10 a.m. it was done. And I hardly saw anything happen before 2 when I went to bed. So I do wonder how and why this did spread so quickly.
Right. And did you hear about that Joe Rogan podcast interview that went viral that he did? It was like a couple years ago, I think, and with the firemen, I think it was. Did you see that video?
I don't think so.
Where it was he was interviewing this guy, and he was like, it's going to come a time in LA when there's going to be the right enough winds.
I did see that.
The right enough time,
and
fires are going to start. It's just going to go through. And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a bit of a powder keg kind of dynamic here when you have all this dry. I mean, we had not had a drop of rain, and it is kind of nerve-wracking when it just keeps going for months and months, and you kind of realize how you are vulnerable. Yeah. And I was like, this is crazy, because usually we'll get a little bit of rain. It was January. We'll get some rain in December. You get some rain, but we had not gotten any rain in all the way, from July, August, September, October, November, December. That's 6 months right there. It was maybe even longer, at least, without any rain. So it does make sense, the dryness, and then combined with the winds. It seems. I think there's something to be looked into, just how these things spread so quickly. So, not going to start any conspiracies.
Right. No, all speculations.
I will say there is something you can look into about nanoparticulate kind of like work. Some people call it chemtrails or weather modification. And these chemtrails can take the form of like a white powdery substance it looks like fog. But it is not a normal fog, and there is, you can watch this online, different parts of the world have seen this. It's been reported, and trying to look at patterns of this weird fog that has just been appearing recently. And when I recalled, after seeing these fires spread so quickly, so intensely, like it's actual storm, it's a fire storm, not just like a fire. It's like a hurricane with a fire. I thought to myself, what could possibly cause this? And then I remembered that just on New Year's, there was a very unusual thick fog that I had never seen in Los Angeles. I've been here 12 years, and it was a few days before this fire. It was in Glendale as I was driving. I know exactly where I was going.
That fog.
And so it did make me ask some questions, and I'm, I don't want to start in conspiracies, but there's evidence of things that can accelerate fires, that it can be, nanoparticulate, accelerants. Yeah. So I'd like to look into some of these things, particularly with that fog and what people are saying about this fog showing up in different areas of the world. So it wasn't just
Quite interesting.
Here. Yeah.
I didn't hear about that. Yeah, there's a bunch of different, I guess, ideas that people have of the reasons why. And of course, we're saying it's still under investigation. Right. But will we know? When will we know?
Right.
When
do we know about what happened in Lahaina?
Yeah. No.
How many years ago?
Yeah. And
not very long ago at all.
A year and a half.
Yeah. And you know what also is, what was it? There's something that came to mind right now. It was,
look at that. Wow.
I just lost it. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, this
is
just
fire spreading
shocking,
so quickly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're?
Yeah, it was something about that. It was there was a point that I had, but it's lost. It'll come back to me eventually.
Well, and moving forward, I'm praying for just better leadership to prevent this kind of disaster. I mean, like you said, Joe Rogan's guest was pointing it out. I've heard, a man that Elizabeth Wong-Allers was actually interviewing probably about 6 months ago when she was running for state senate. She interviewed a water expert who's been a water expert in California for 30 years. He's basically like a manager, and we can post repost that video so you can all see that. But he was saying that they have put paperwork on Gavin Newsom's desk time and time again asking for more dams to be built, and Newsom saying no because of it's not good. It'll have these adverse effects on the environment, and putting these endangered species at risk and stuff. And I know Newsom tried to deflect, but that is his overarching argument. Is
right.
these bad effects on the climate, and on the environment. But to that, my response is, well, is it as bad as over 10,000 structures being destroyed, and the homelessness now is just through the roof? I mean, these families, some of them are rebuilding, but some of them aren't, So where are they going? Where are they supposed to go? Are they going to have to leave their own state, their home state? Are they, some of them are staying at hotels. Some of them have already hit the road. I mean, it's just... It's all up in the air.
Let's not forget some of them aren't alive anymore.
Well, I think
so. Some of them
aren't alive anymore.
There's the high cost to the mismanagement that we've seen here, and I'm glad you brought up the water, because that's just part of it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And the dams, to clarify, those were not dams that were for fire emergencies, according to the stuff. They were actually agricultural dams, but in the small text of these dams, and again, we can post that video so you can get an exact resource filled explanation, because I'm sure butchering it. But basically, in the case of an emergency, we would have those dams as a backup, even though that wasn't their purpose. And that's what this water expert was saying is, yes, they are not for the fire department directly, but they'll be there just in case.
Right.
Especially with a lot of the snow fall off and that kind of stuff.
I mean, you should be able to
not
tap
collecting.
into it.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like another
it's
resource.
A great point,
for
because you'll hear in some of the police reports, you can actually read about what the firemen were encountering that night. But some of the hydrants did run dry when they needed the water. So it definitely could have saved.
Be happening.
There was a fire. Right?
Our leadership let us down.
Yeah,
our mayor let us down. Our governor let us down.
Yeah, and there's actually crazy, because my best friend, she lives, not too far, but she's like 2 cities over from, I forget which fire it was, and they were firemen coming to the fire hydrant in front of her house.
Wow.
She was like, we're too far from the fire. I mean, they're close, but not super close.
Yeah.
So she's like, why are they coming all the way out here just to get water from our fire hydrant? She was so baffled and confused. And I remember she was texting me. She's like, I don't know why they're here. And I was like, I think it's because all the fire hydrants over there are probably dry.
No, this should not have happened.
Which
Newsom
is crazy.
Let us down.
Okay, have you seen people saying that, no, this isn't true, even though we have literal footage of firemen being interviewed live from reporters, being like, "Is there any water?" They're like, "No, it's nothing in there." And then
there's
people
no
are
water
like,
in the hydrants.
And then people are still
there's
saying
no excuse
that yes, there was,
They're denying.
yes, there was. I'm like, are you kidding me? Okay, whatever. That's just the crazy thing, but it is insane. I mean,
it's infuriating. Frankly, it's just infuriating.
Well, that and the alert system too. We could talk about this. Is a huge issue as to why the houses west of Lake Avenue were not notified until the fires were already raging through and destroying their property.
Wow.
We had a mandatory evac on the east of Lake Avenue. However, the fires had destroyed, as you would look. It'd be nice if we had the chart of showing like the exact footprint of this fire, but the vast majority, a lot of it is to the west of Lake Avenue, and that area was not notified at all via like text message or any sort of system. I think when I grew up in Chicago, we had like a blowhorn that would go off if there was ever a weather emergency. For a tornado, for instance, to go to your basement, you would hear this large horn. I'm like, there was nothing that people had to notify them. And unless you happen to have the app and happen to have your app's notifications on, then you would have gotten a warning. But even that warning west of Lake Avenue didn't come until the houses were already being destroyed by fire.
That's the crazy thing is, we still have some of the sirens too from from way back when we actually had wars, and that's stuff that were threatening us. But
where were those?
We have those still, actually.
I didn't hear any of them.
And what's crazy is that you still need your phone. And what about the elderly who may not have access to your phone? Because we still have people nowadays who don't have phones, right? Who don't know how to use them,
or just leave them, or
people
don't see them,
right? Or people who don't even use phones by choice, right? Or
Yeah.
Absolutely.
the
You cannot.
these
You
ones.
cannot. Right. Exactly. That is not a universal method of communicating
Right,
with
and
people.
so I just find it like crazy how that was being used, and then also the fact that they were also sending out false alerts to the rest of the
Yeah, that
San
was
Fernando
confusing.
Valley,
Yeah, that was confusing.
because people were like, "Oh my goodness, evacuation! Like
What's going on?
I want to
Yeah,
know.
exactly. The
I do
Watch
want to
Duty
know
app
because
was
lives
the-
were lost in Altadena. We had 17 people right in that area of Altadena, and by the way, from what I understand, the deaths that were reported in the Eaton fire all occurred within the area that was not notified.
really?
That's right, which is the west of
my
Lake Avenue in that area.
Oh my goodness!
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, some people did
That's
make choices
terrible.
to stay in their home. From what I understand, they made the choice. They're like, no, I'm not leaving my home. I might have been one of them. Because if you're a captain of your ship and that's your whole life, you're going to do whatever you can to save that ship. In
Yes.
fact, captains always go down with their ship.
Right,
If you
yeah.
look at maritime history. So in that regard, you want to save your, it depends what your priorities are, but you want to
Right.
save your fortress, save your
Yeah.
castle. And I know there was that some of these guys, it was smoke inhalation was usually the issue, but there was also reports people were found in their beds because they could never even get out of their room because they never had anyone notify them.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's terrifying to think because I was sound asleep myself,
Yeah.
not
so
knowing that just a block
very
away.
disturbing.
Yeah,
that's
it is. You need redundancy.
Yeah.
Redundancy, you need the sirens, you need the phones, and you need the app. So you have the text system going, you have the apps going, and you at least have those, like you call them, the blowhorns. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think this is a very big warning sign to all of I guess California, because this is a whole entire California issue, even to the entire United States. The fact that our leadership was not leading the way they should have. Right. Of course, there was things that were unpreventable, but even so, there were things that could have been mitigated and things that they were not just competent enough to handle.
That's right.
And we saw that, especially with what you were just mentioning. And I think this is a very big lesson to all Californians, and especially to who we want our leadership to be. And I saw that especially when I was when I went to go interview some of the people, and actually Brentwood was where I actually set up my location to go interview people, because that was one of the checkpoints to interview, I guess, letting people back into their houses. And there was a bunch of people there who had lost their houses, and a lot of them were frustrated with the leadership. They were very, very frustrated with Karen Bass, the fact that she wasn't even in town. Even though she had multiple warnings beforehand, we already
That's right. The
were
winds,
getting warnings
yes, we all knew the winds
prior.
were coming for
We-
a week
yeah.
at least. Yeah.
Yeah, we were all getting
That's right.
warnings. We already knew, like, this is potentially going to be something
That's
big.
right.
And she still left the country, and she sort of ditched out for a little bit.
I wonder who makes the call on when the power shut down. When you have the oncoming Santa Ana winds, because I had actually kind of naively myself thought that was like kind of stupid. I'm like, why are they shutting the power just because the wind, But now we know that could have prevented this entirely if the power was shut down.
Yeah.
But why would that have not happened?
Well, they shut down very
this year?
interesting parts as well. Like, I think, like, there were some parts that had power, some not, but how it was distributed was kind of weird
okay,
and random.
okay.
From what I was looking at, I was like, okay, this is interesting, because my same friend who had the fire hydrant, the water situation, her house got the power went out at her house, but she wasn't anywhere near the fire. So it was a very interesting reason why they would choose her location.
Right.
And she isn't necessarily particularly close to mountains either. So it was a very interesting how they cut it. Well, I find it, but
yeah, I mean, I think we had a warning after the on the chart. It shows the first fire, the Paradise Fire, Paradise, California. The warning was, brush, taking care of the brush clearance and things like that would have made a huge difference.
Yeah.
I think even President Trump was speaking out about that. I believe that happened when in a couple of years ago, so he wasn't in office, but he was bringing up this point, which is great to make it publicly known that brush, clearing your brush, forest management they call it, is vital to this.
And we don't do that.
No, and that's what I'm getting to is I had a really cool opportunity to go to a community emergency response team, which is called CERT. They had a meeting in Sierra Madre about a week and a half after the fire, and it was called the Response to the Eaton Fires. And I got to hear their chief and their mayor speak of what it was like that night for them, and they got into all kinds of issues, some of which we're talking about, and one of them was making sure that you took care of your own property in terms of clearing out all the dry, basically the brush that you have control of in your own property. And they made note that they saved a lot of houses in Sierra Madre because those that had done so were able to were able to save their home because there just wasn't that kind of encroachment of embers that just will continue to move towards the fuel. Fuel is anything that will burn, right? So you have these leaves and these vines, and they'll kind of like they'll work their way towards the home, and then when it starts the home, it's very hard to put out because then you have so much fuel, and with all these paints and chemicals that are involved in these man-made materials, they really just burn. They really just are very flammable. So. I appreciated being at that meeting. It was a big wake-up call for me. I had never really taken that stuff super seriously until I saw even my own house in Altadena is bad in terms of the amount of just leaves, or dry leaves and twigs, and even firewood that you think is great. Oh, we're storing our firewood. Isn't that cute? Well, it's actually, if it's right next to your house, it's not. You really want to have space. And I see in the houses in Altadena, there's a lot of them survived, and they seem to have been cleared in terms of their yard being clear. That's all. Just clear your yard.
Yeah. Yeah, there's places that get even the goats to go and munch on all
That's
that
right.
stuff. You've seen them.
That's great.
If you go to
That's great. I've heard that too.
once a year they have at the Ronald Reagan Museum in Simi, they'll have all the goats come up there and they'll go eat. And everybody goes to go see the goats. Like my little sister loves the goats there, and she'll go,
Come on, guys, you can have fun with this, forest management stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the sheep the goats love it.
Yeah. No.
Food for days.
Exactly. No, but yeah, that's I mean, I think that's very important too, because in by the Ronald Reagan Museum there was even a fire right next to them a few years ago.
A few years
ago, and you'll see it it came right up to the grass and glass point, and then after that, I'm pretty sure they were like, nope.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's people who do that.
So, we were talking about different perspectives about the fires. We have an interview that I'd love to hear your thoughts on, Jason.
Yeah,
that
I
Ellie
got a
did.
very interesting interview from a lady. She's British, and she's really cool. She even followed us, which was nice. But she has an interesting perspective about why the fires may have started. So if we can pull that up, I'm sure we'll get that.
Okay, do you want to just say
There
your
you
first
go.
name?
Cool.
Hi, I'm Justine.
Hi, nice to meet you. And tell me, what are you doing here today?
Well, I'm really interested in the effects of global warming and when it trickles down to, the on the street level, which is exactly what we're seeing here, houses being destroyed, communities being destroyed. The droughts, everything was really dry, so it just went up like kindling, basically. And I don't know, I just think it's really important for us to actually acknowledge what's going on and explore it. And I guess that I'm intrigued, and we can't get up there and can't look at it yet, so I might come back in a couple of days to see. But it's an absolute tragedy, and my heart goes out to everyone that's lost so much history.
I can agree with her on
so
that.
much of their life, and I'm really sad. And if there's anything we can do.
Yeah, totally. And you know what? I just wanted to get your perspective. I mean, you're from England, right?
Yeah.
So you're not from here originally, but how is everything looking for you?
Well, I mean, I come from such a different world because it rains all the time in England, and this is it's just terrifying that it can just get so dry, and those amazing Santa Ana winds could just pick it up and carry it so quickly. But the same thing happens in Australia, and I don't know if you remember about 4 years ago when the whole of Australia was burning. I wasn't there, but it's the same thing. You just think, how can we not acknowledge global warming and its effect on our everyday lives, which is what it is. And I happen to be in LA at this time, and
What an interesting time to be here.
I know, right?
I feel like it's such a crazy time. I can't imagine for just visiting to see this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's devastating. Absolutely devastating.
It is. And so are you involved with climate change activism or anything?
No, I'm not. I'm just absolutely fascinated it for my own
Ellie loves
personal
this
self.
interview,
I'm
okay.
quite old, so I've watched the world change in just the course of my lifetime, and and it's really taking a toll. And I think these sorts of things just bring it down to ground to actually how bad things are, and how we have to work a way around it.
Yeah.
Find solutions.
Find solutions, exactly. And I'm sure your generation will do that for us.
Yeah.
Amen.
You know, we hope to find many solutions. But thank you so much for being willing to share your perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm
So what do
sorry.
you think, Jason? No,
Well, she got a great
you did
smile.
great.
Give
No,
it-
no, no, no. I did not do great. Okay, I was over here cringing at the fact that I asked these
Yeah,
questions
that's
terribly.
not my
It's good
best
to
interview.
watch our own work, 'cause then we grow.
Yeah.
All right, Jason, what was your
Well,
perspective?
I like it. She was great, actually. She had,
She
a lot,
was
she had a
great.
lot of things to say, and she said it very, kind of
Eloquent.
eloquent. Well carried herself very well. My first thought is, hey, I don't think she's quite up on the lingo, because to still call it global warming is a little bit outdated for, you could say, the left. I think they've changed it to climate change, because they really don't know which direction it's going to go. So I find it, as far as, is it getting colder? Is it getting warmer? Because we're seeing the shifts. And I always thought that was interesting from what I've seen, and to refute some of that narrative is that you actually have just about as much warming as you have cooling changes when you look at the weather patterns, and therefore the net change really isn't much of anything. So the fear lies in that there's this big dramatic shift, but really the net is almost is nil between the warming and the cooling. So that's why they've abandoned the narrative of calling it warming. Because it's just if you look around, it's about half warming and half cooling. So that being said, I also thought it was very interesting that she mentioned the Australia fires, because boy, does my mind go back to good old January 2020, and that was terrifying, right? Until what hit the world upside the head from Wuhan. So I just thought that was wild that she's talking about those wicked forest fires and the winds happening at this exact same time of the year to the day. Like 4 years in 2020, so 5 years before. Like it was in the first 4 days of, maybe not to the day, maybe to the week. The exact same time of year, having those wicked fires in Australia. But I don't know. We could research climate, because it seems to be in the southern hemisphere. I think it's the opposite season, so that's kind of interesting. Anyway, still early January.
You know
5
what?
years
I
ago.
think that it was very interesting, perspective that she brought as well. And I think that there's a lot of speculations, but that's her opinion. But I was really happy that she was able to share it as well.
Right.
Because what I meant to sort of draw out was that, she isn't from California, obviously. So I want to know her outsider perspective coming from, obviously, England. What she thought, from an outsider looking in.
Right. And I thought that was cool to hear that this climate's totally foreign to her.
Yeah.
It's very precipitous and moist and all that in London. So
It's very different for sure. But yeah, so that was one of the interviews that I got. I got a lot of really good interviews from people that was there. A lot of the people who were waiting there for hours. I'm not sure if you heard that.
Oh, yeah. So what was your situation there?
So I got there. I forget what time I got there, but I remember when I got there, I only had probably an hour and a half to be there. So I was like, okay, I got to get a couple interviews there.
Yeah.
Got to make it short because I had a meeting. But I was like, I needed to get some footage, talk to some people. But it was very interesting because there was a line of cars, going back for I don't even know how long. It was just for the eye can see.
They were
Just
waiting to get into waiting to drive in?
To drive in to go see their house. And this was a checkpoint, and there was also people lining up on the sidewalk. And it was probably only 30 people on the sidewalk, not many, but there was just, the line of cars was endless.
Right.
And I
didn't like checkpoints, as you can see. I just decided
you did not.
to go.
You just went the other way. It's okay. But there was a bunch of, as you could probably saw in the interview that I did, there was National Guard there and police. There was plenty of police there too. But there was a line that was forming on the sidewalk, and that was about 30 people there. And I went up there, and that's how I got the interview with that lady and a few other people. But I found out from the people who had been waiting there that they'd been waiting probably since 7 in the morning, and it was now closer to sunset now.
Right.
And they were just waiting for hours on end. So people were waiting there for probably closer to 12 hours.
Yeah.
And then there's people waiting inside their cars, right? And some people
You got to
were
ask
by
yourself,
themselves.
how fair does this sound?
Some people were by themselves as well.
Yeah.
Just by themselves in their car. So imagine you can't leave your car, because what if you move up a spot and then somebody goes around you and cuts you? But you need to go eat, go bathroom, but you've got to leave your car there, right? So there was a lot of craziness happening with leadership, and they had to take only one person or two at a time, and they were taking forever because you had to wait till they came back. And so it was a lot of craziness.
I wonder why. Why such stringent regulation on the numbers that could?
Well, you know what? I think it was during the looting thing.
Yep,
but the thing is that I feel like they could have had so much better leadership. When I got there, I was like, there's no communication to them, the people who are waiting in the cars. They just were like, I don't know what's going on. Nobody's told us anything. We're just waiting, and hopefully we'll get to see it by the end of the day. And it was awful. I remember 6 p.m. was the cutoff time because that was curfew. So I probably got there around closer to 4:30ish, probably.
Yes, this was like living in a like, if I could just speak to that for a second, because I was living that too, where I had on day one, again, been able to get in. And then by day 2, I think they started the curfew because at that point I was concerned not so much with saving any valuables, but actually fortifying the home from looting, because I didn't know if I'm going to be able to get back to my home, nor how many weeks it could be, or just how tough that was going to be. So we bought deadbolts the second day, went in with Charlie, 4 of us went in. I got, again, in with my car, which was great, and we installed the deadbolts. And that was like, hey. And then we grabbed whatever people needed for the second round. I fed the chinchillas and the backyard. And my landlords were ecstatic because they how did you get in there? You know, because you were blocked off from entering completely, especially with the vehicle.
Right.
And so they were so happy that we could take care of a few things and water the chinchillas. But the question was, you know, being able to get into into those areas, and the curfew. That's what I wanted to speak to. Was so weird and surreal to be kind of feeling like you have to break into your own neighborhood, and then it's like a ghost town. There's nobody there, and you're wondering if I should even be there, except for a few emergency vehicles, a few service vehicles. Right. And then I knew I had to be out by a certain time, otherwise I'd be stuck there, because they actually had arrested people by that third day or something when I had come back. I'd heard they had made arrests after dark for curfew. So it was just unbelievable. Yeah. And I actually saw there's 4 houses down from me, there was a group of mostly men, like Latinos. They were just having the time of their lives, playing music, barbecue, beer, and they said, hey, come on over, we got food. And it was so wild to have this party in the middle of desolation and lockdown. Wow. And because I said, what are you guys doing? Like, well, we ain't going to, whoever needs to leave, they were going to leave. But a couple of them were just staying at their house. And mind you, no water, no power, and no, like, without power is like no gas. So you had all the utilities knocked out. So kind of a strange, weird scenario to be
like
living. It was totally dystopian. It's like living in this movie where I can't even go back to your own house, and if you do, you better be off the streets by 6.
Yeah, no, it definitely was definitely crazy, and people were very, very worried. Like, am I going to get in before 6? Are they going to cut us off? But people were so upset because there was no leadership, and then I think
that's a good point.
I don't know if there was
communication.
I don't know if there was somebody from government there, and I think it was either assemblywoman or a city councilwoman. She just showed up for like an hour, did some talking, whatever, and then she left. Everybody who was there absolutely hated her because they were like, she just came here for publicity and just left, did nothing.
She could have at least done a rain dance or something.
Didn't do.
Yeah, rain dance. That's good. That's good. That's good. Come on, do something, lady. Come on. Obviously, you don't know how to run office, so you can just do a rain dance. Call on God.
Yeah. No, it was
higher
insane.
Power. Sorry.
People were so upset with her. Everyone there was upset. They were like, I don't even know what she's here. She made a distraction. She made it confusing. We didn't know what was happening. And she just added to the problem, really. But there was a lot of, the poor police officers, they were getting a bunch of, like, the people who were there working there, they were getting the grief on them. And a lot of the people there told me, I understand that it's not their fault. It's from higher up people, but they're there. You kind of let it out there on them. So that really sucked. Yeah. But I did have another video as well. I don't know if we wanted to play that.
Well, can I ask you this, Ellie?
I was having technical issues with that.
Oh, okay. That's fine. We don't have to do that one.
Sorry, okay. I know. We'll have to post it.
No, it's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to know, did everybody get to see their home that had been waiting that entire time?
Well,
or did they run into a problem when it got dark?
You know what? There was this one particular lady who we connected with her when we got there. She was my first interview, and she was crying. We had to sort of be like, hey, are you sure you don't want to share? Because at first she didn't want to share her story, and I was like, we'll cover your face. You can be behind. And we already posted that on Instagram. So if you guys want to go check it out and watch it, it's 2 parts. She was just crying, and she was so emotional over the fact that her house was gone. She's like, I'm Latina. Not a lot of people think that I actually own a house up there. because people think sometimes I'm the nanny, but it's my house, you know? And so she was like, you know, just hysterical over this, but she's like, I need to go see my house. I really do. My husband's been waiting. We've been waiting here forever. He's in the line. I'm out here in the
split up.
Other line. So just both get it. And so we were talking with her, and she was so upset with the fact that she was upset with Karen Bass, she was upset with Gavin Newsom, she was upset with Joe Biden. And it was very interesting because I didn't expect her to be so upset at these, you know, leaders. And she's like, I can't wait for Trump to come in. And I was
cool.
Like,
she had a real sense.
Oh,
It was
wow.
Yeah, she had a sense.
I was like, wow, I did not expect that from this lady. She was
good.
like,
understanding mismanagement, and it's not just nature; it's like mismanagement.
Right.
You know?
And she's like, I can't believe these people. I can't wait for the change of leadership that we're gonna have, because this is not okay. And she was, my heart went out to her. And by the end of the day, it was like the last 15 minutes before they were gonna shut down. The police officer said, I know you've been here for a long time. I'm going to try to get you in. And they eventually let probably they let probably closer to 15 cars in. They were just letting them in.
I know.
They let a bunch of people out, like the floodgates opened, and they took her and a few other people. And I was so happy. She was like so ecstatic, but also crying. She's like, thank you. I finally, God heard my prayers. I'm going to be able to get in and go see her house. And she did. She was able to actually talk and call us later about what she was able to see.
Follow up. Yeah.
So we got her number, and I hope to hopefully, talk to her soon, catch up with her. But there was also some other people that were waiting with an elderly man there. And they had been there since like 5 a.m. And they were waiting because they needed his medication.
Oh my God.
Which was in the home.
Yeah, which was in the home. And so, they waited till last minute, and they let him in like just right before it was going to be 6, and they eventually got their medication. So, it was definitely an interesting thing to see. And they didn't tell everybody that, but I heard, I got an interview with one of the police. They didn't get an interview, but I talked to one of the policemen there, which there was rumors starting to spur around the front that they weren't going to allow people in for the next couple of days.
Yeah.
For next 2-3 days.
Yeah.
And nobody in the back knew. Nobody in the back knew. So those people who didn't get in, they didn't know any communication of whether or not they were going to get in or when the next time was going to be. So it was a very interesting thing.
Yeah. One of my thoughts that I always am curious is when people see their house for the first time, after this. And then how much do they know about what they're about to see? Because I really felt my heart just break with people that hadn't been back yet. And here I felt like I was seeing this decimation of so many lives, legacies, inheritances, and futures just before me that they didn't even know yet. Because I was there that day and the day that it happened. And people had just run. So when you're going back for the first time, I'm wondering if even in Palisades, did they know the condition of their home before they went back?
Yeah, I know. I knew a few.
Because some were there, some weren't, and some were halfway, and some were.
I know some people knew that they had already seen photos.
Yeah.
That they already seen photos, and they're just like, I just want to go see it in person.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how they got the
by
photos.
By that point, well, that's true. By that point, they.
By that point, they probably already had whether it was seeing it on the news or something else.
That is a really.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to me, and the amount of time it took for Palisades fire to open for residences versus Altadena, because we know that people had access. The roads cleared a lot quicker in Altadena. The access to the public, actually, it's been accessible. Altadena's been accessible for a couple of weeks now. Almost every part. Now, of course, it took its time, but it was much slower in Palisades.
Yeah.
So that to me is an interesting question. Why this is so hard for Palisades people to get to their homes, where it was the same day that this happened, and Altadena we were able to get access a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Which means a lot, given the weather, given the looting, given the conditions, to start to rebuild your life instead of having it put on pause by some bureaucrat for who knows what environmental reason.
You know what? There's still more stuff that's crazy that's been happening these last few weeks. Like, did you see all the plane crashes and the one that happened in DC, right?
That was
insane because we were just there, and it just feels so surreal.
Yeah.
And
in DCA probably.
Yeah.
That very airport.
Yeah, it was that very airport that we were there, and it was just insane to see that happen in a world.
Well, yeah, a lot of it feels like spiritual warfare
and also,
to our nation.
did you also see that also Alaska flight as well?
There's 4 of them.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. So it's just been an insane start to the year.
Yeah, no, the Black Hawk thing that's just completely.
Oh, that too.
That's yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm not necessarily blaming the people, the pilots, but it's very intentional what happened because there was no attempt at avoidance whatsoever. So either they were on a manual override, the Black Hawk was quickly approaching the American Airlines jet for quite a period of time. To avoid that collision was very possible if you were looking out the window, right? So it is weird.
We do wonder what happened during that.
Well, there are just so many questions with a lot of these disasters. But as we wrap up tonight, I want to point out something positive has been. I mean, it's been.
That's good, Tara.
But it's is a lot of the disaster relief efforts have been from community members, not just only giving money, but getting their hands dirty and going out and with the homeowners and meeting. There are organizations that are right now meeting homeowners at their home address, and with their permission and their instruction, they rummage through the stuff, and then they get any valuables. They see if this is gone. They see if this is there. They rescue the stuff. And
funny you should bring that up.
It's wonderful. Yeah. So have you been involved in any of those efforts?
I'm so glad. No, that's wild. It's a powerful thing to be able to come alongside people in the midst of this, loss. And I had my own, cycle of grief in that, I didn't really know what to do. This is such decimation. It was so close to me with people that I had just, went up and down these streets running for office just a matter of months ago. And I just felt connected to the community, right? And next thing I know, the houses are completely annihilated, and I'm just driving around being overwhelmed. I don't even want to look at this over and over. It's just too much. But I heard about these. It's called an ash out, and the churches have been coming down and partnering with Dream Center, which is local to LA, and they will, like Tara just said, spend some time as a team going through one by one. If a homeowner signs up that they'd like the ash out, they'll be able to get a team scheduled, a 2-hour time period where they'll get a team that comes, and they will go and look for whatever items might have been left, or any valuables, or even sentimental things that might have survived the fire, and work with the homeowner, because the homeowner will know what areas to focus on, the siftings. You have a sifter and go through that. So. Wow. I felt immediately drawn to this. I also was familiar with the churches doing it. And it was really helpful for me even to feel like, okay, I can start to do something productive here and not just be overwhelmed by this tragedy. And then on top of that was actually meeting people. And they're my neighbors because I'm right on the other side of town. And they were really touched. Just more so that anybody could just be there with them to share in their grief. Whether or not you found anything, it was just part of their process.
Yeah.
And it would be mine too. It's just part of the process of moving forward is to spend the time looking at what might still be left before you remove it. As was the next stage. One of the next stages is the bulldozing and removal of the debris.
Yeah.
So.
And that's just an amazing thing that I will forever. I think a lot of people. We're a city, a big city. You could say a big county, really.
Yeah,
but
huge.
I think a lot of people will look down on Los Angeles at times, but I think that this is the time where we all came together as a community, and it's one of the times that I've never seen our neighbors be the most friendliest.
Yeah.
No, I know.
I love that you say that. Isn't that what it's about?
Yeah.
It's about being there for each other and realizing that everything's so temporary, and all of our things that we strive and the castles we build in this life, they can just be gone in a moment. And what more visceral experience, for people. Yeah. I mean, you just know that it really is about relationships, that will withstand. And that's what I heard from people when I was shocked, talked to my neighbors, and my heart just fell. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is your home? And they were all cheerful. I was like, what? Are they so cheerful? And this is the day after the fires. I was talking to this beautiful family, and there was 7 of them there, and they told me their story when they ran out. And that's how I figured out, oh my gosh, I was sound asleep. And you're a block away. You ran out because you were running for your life. How weird. Anyway, putting the pieces together, but they had said that after they got everybody out, they realized they didn't bring anything with them. And so when they turned back to go grab their valuables, the flames were racing into their backyard, and they couldn't even go in their home. The flames were coming right up their backyard at that time. But they said, all that mattered was they were all there together.
That's perfect.
Everyone was together. And that's why they were cheerful. And it just hit me like a brick in the head. I'm like, oh my gosh, of course that's what matters, you know? And it was a beautiful like wake-up call for me because I'm, you know, just so focused on the stuff. And I look and I'm like, oh, it's about the people. Your family.
That is really good. Yeah. You know, tomorrow morning I will actually be going out with Samaritan's Purse. That's another organization
awesome.
that has been doing the ash
That's
out.
right.
And with my church, CV Church, and then also, Pasadena Foursquare Church in Pasadena. And yeah, they've been working with Samaritan's Purse to do the exact same thing. And I will be actually getting some interviews and footage to kind of promote what's been happening.
Wow.
And they have to wear these big suits. And, you know, when the Samaritan's Purse actually brings a Bible and all the people who help with the ash out sign the Bible. And then, you know, the pastor comes and prays over the land with the family and the Bible. And then they give the Bible to the homeowners as a gift. So just
that is a beautiful ministry opportunity. I applaud them for the Lord leading them to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We were more organic with the teams that I was with, which was amazing. And that would be like if the Lord was leading a prayer or, you know, some sort of a time of prayer with the homeowner, we would do that. And they were so open, and it was wonderful connection with people's being very open to receive comfort and healing from God.
Yes.
In this. So.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Well, we are at the hour, and I have to be up early to go help with these efforts. So, are you ready
be fun,
to
Tara.
close? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ready to close, but you know what? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jason. You were so great. I'm so glad you got to be on. You're welcome on anytime.
This is special. I love both of you, and it's just a great time always.
Yes,
so 180-degree shift. Let's keep this going.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to hopefully doing some more stuff with you in the future.
Great.
Maybe come on again. Hopefully for something more. I don't know, more joyful, more exciting.
Yeah.
It was very organic. And
yes,
real,
it was.
you know,
it was very real reactions and everything. But thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Please make sure. Yes.
Is there a place that we can find
Jason?
Jason?
That's right. Is there a place we could find you online?
You can find me at World Fade Story. So WORLDFADESTORY. That is a Instagram handle.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
You're so welcome.
Make sure to check out all of our social media at 180 Shift, as well as our website at 180shift.org. Thank you so much for joining us, and hope to catch you next time. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay. Cool.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you, Jason. That was great.
We went through it, you ladies.
Oh, look, it's not all glitchy anymore. Yay. It was so embarrassing.